Hi, and welcome along to AFTV. Time to preview the game. Arsenal visiting Anfield to take on Liverpool. And to discuss the game, we can bring in no other than Chris Pajak from the Redmen TV, the #1 Liverpool channel. Great to have you on, Chris. We've been seeing a lot of each other recently. Lots of games together and 2 more to come up. Monday night in the Premier League, of course. And then, of course, in the Carabao Cup. Both of them at Anfield. But I know a lot of games. But how are you feeling about that? How are you feeling about the game on Monday night? Let's address that.
I'm looking forward to it, mate. I do think, you know, when you looked at the fixtures, Liverpool had a really tough first 3 fixtures, a bit of an unknown quantity in Leeds, first game of the season. I think they'll bloody a lot of noses throughout the season of teams that will probably go on to finish higher above them. And that's because they're an unknown quantity and they play in a slightly different way to most teams. I think Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, I was quite pleased that it was at Stamford Bridge, to be honest, and they were quite early on in the season, although on paper it's a tough game because they're not quite gelled yet, have they? I mean, they've brought in Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Ziyech, Silva, Ben Chilwell, all of them. So I thought it was a good time to play Chelsea, to be honest, and as it turned out, it was right. Arsenal, again, you know, to round off 3 tough games to the start of the league. Thankfully, this one's at Anfield, although, you know, we were talking before over on Redmen that, you know, it might play into Arsenal's hands that there's no fans here. But ultimately, Arsenal have given us a tough couple of games already. You know, we played them just after restart and he's won. We played using the Community Shield. Actually, did we draw the one in the league? Thinking about it, I can't remember now.
No, we beat you in the league. We drew in reality drew the Community Shield, but we won on penalties.
Yeah, so 2 tough games against Arsenal already. I imagine it'll be another tough game. To be honest, with Arsenal, normally when a side plays 3 at the back against us, we normally deal with it really well. Now, Arsenal's 3 at the back is slightly different, so we've had a few problems. I think, certainly in the Community Shield, when we went to the 4-2-3-1, we looked much better against that sort of 3 at the back. So I'm interested to see how we'll evolve our formation to how Arsenal have been playing with that 3 at the back, because we've not been having too much joy, not been creating loads of chances and stuff like that. Obviously, we've got Trent coming in this game. Hopefully, he'll be able to do a little bit of a better job on Aubameyang than Nico Williams did in the Community Shield. But it's a bit of a hit and hope there, isn't it, I suppose, because Aubameyang can beat the best defenders in the world at will. Yeah,
I mean, Arsenal, it's a 3 at the back, but they kind of have a way in which it becomes a 4-5 sometimes. I mean, they're continually changing. And I think what Arsenal will look to do is to try and exploit the spaces in behind Liverpool. Now, Liverpool tend to play a very high line. Do you think they'll continue to just play that? Is it the clock? It won't change, and that will be that high, because that is where we've been getting some joy against Liverpool. Try and hit those diagonals, get it up to Aubameyang. Now with Willian in there, try and get it to Willian, get in behind that attack.
I think Liverpool will play the same way, mate.
Change?
No, not really. Part of our identity is our pressing game, and our pressing game is reliant on closing that space down. So you think about it, you know this anyway, and everyone watching at home will obviously know this. You've got less of the field to cover if your midfielders and your defenders and your strikers are all closer together. So the higher our defensive line, the higher our midfield line, the higher our strikers, which enables us to press really high up the pitch. You saw that against Chelsea, you know, when Sadio Mane presses Kepa into a mistake. That's what Liverpool do. That's what the high line does. Now, generally speaking, we're really good. Now, not been great since the start of the season so far with the high line. It's practice. I think that's what Liverpool will do. But, you know, with the recovery pace of Joe Gomez, if he's to start, with the pace of Virgil van Dijk, Klopp backs them lads to do a job. And it is part of who we are as a football side. And to be honest, we've not been beaten very often over the last 18 months while we've been doing it, certainly since the start of last season. So we'll continue to do it until it is a major issue.
I mean, I thought that's how Leeds exploited it. Again, it was that in behind where Leeds caused a lot of problems, and Arsenal, I suppose it's not as gun-ho as what Leeds are, but they do play a similar in there where they play it out from the back, try and bring Liverpool on. Got to be very brave to do that. But I think we'll probably persist with that because it would be like, well, we've done it before and that's worked. And then if we can draw Liverpool in, it is about getting it up to Aubameyang and guys like that, and hoping that they can use their pace and take the very few chances that we're going to get. So it's going to be a really interesting game in that way. I mean, obviously, I was with a couple of Liverpool fans last night. They are so excited at the moment because you have made a couple of good signings as well.
Absolutely, mate. Thiago Alcantara, one of the best midfielders in the world. I mean, you can see it when Jürgen is asked the question about him. He's got this massive smile on his face, like he knows that we've got one of the best midfielders in the world. He had 45 minutes against Chelsea. He had more passes than any Chelsea player on the day. Yes, they had 10 men. He made 75 passes in 45 minutes, mate. It was like a Premier League record since Opta began the stats in like 2003 in his first 45 minutes as a Liverpool player. And you could see him. He was like a ball magnet. Everything was going through him. And this isn't like a good player coming into a decent side and everyone's looking towards him. This is a team that have won the Premier League, are world champions, have recently won the European Cup, and everyone kind of like tipped their hat and went, go on, mate, you take the ball because we know how good you are. He'd had one training session and he came in and he took the game by the scruff of the neck and started making everyone braver in the pass, showing people what you can do, quick balls. He whipped one ball out. Paul mentioned it during our watch along. He whipped one ball out to Trent Alexander-Arnold while he was shouting at he whipped a ball out to Robbo while he was shouting at Trent to tell him he should have been further up the field. And this is a lad who doesn't even know anyone on there but himself, current European champion, I suppose, when he was at Bayern Munich. Like he was an integral part of who they are, and he'll become an integral part of Liverpool. But we're so excited because he's so creative, he's so industrious. He seems that he'd fit a Jurgen Klopp side perfectly, and we're just scratching the surface of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, thanks very much for all that. My predictions and that now I'm starting to reconsider. You know what I mean? After you've just given all that information. And then, of course, you've got Jota, who you brought in. Yeah. And again, I've seen Jota play a lot for Wolves. He seems like a player who's going to suit your system perfectly.
Yeah, funny enough, I was speaking to someone, a stats and analytics expert, just after we'd signed Thiago Jota, and his stats, according to Will Spearman, who is one of Liverpool's sort of boffins, that, the analytics that these football clubs look at is nothing like what we look at analytics and stuff like that. And Liverpool are one of the best in the world at this. And it's why our recruitment has been so good over the years. He said he is the most similar in stats to what Sadio Mane was when he was at Southampton. And this is like things like his capacity to press, his capacity for high speed sprints during a 90-minute game, the areas of the field where he presses, the spaces that he takes up, all of this type of GPS tracking location, as well as the goals. I mean, he got 16 goals and a few assists last season for Wolves, in a side that he wasn't really a regular starter in. So they've got really high hopes for Diogo Jota, and maybe it won't be this season, maybe it'll be next season or the season after. He's only 23 years old, so he's got a big future in the game, if you believe the Liverpool staff. I think when you look at Wolves, your eyes are drawn to Adama Traore because he's brilliant, Raul Jimenez because he's brilliant, but Diogo Jota was always the man who was on the end of quite a lot of these quick counter-attack moves because of his pace and stuff. So I'm really excited to see him. I wasn't expecting this as a signing, and I never thought Liverpool would be interested in him. But hearing, the stats and analytics guys talking about him and telling me that that's what Sadio Mane was like at Southampton is a very, very close replica. And then you see what Sadio Mane is now, because he was considered inconsistent, a bit of a risk at 35 million quid when we signed him. And now he's one of the best players in the league. If they can do the same to Diogo Jota, we've got a player. But ultimately, it's about having a fourth player for those three positions. And obviously, we've signed Minamino for 7 million quid in January. So now we've got 5 players for 3 positions. If we can rest those front 3 players a little bit more, they might be a little bit fresher for those big games. And that's what I'm looking forward to see. A little bit of rotation. And will the level of the front 3 improve? Because there's 2 lads there chomping at the bit to get in, but also they might get a little bit more rest.
Well, obviously, our front 3, we're going to be relying upon that as well. Started the season well. Aubameyang, all about Lacazette's banged in a couple of goals in his first 2 games as well. And Willian, who probably, I think Willian will be the one who'll get the shout over Pepe, who Pepe did pretty well against Liverpool as well. But Willian might have a role to play, and he's normally plays quite well against you when he's been at Chelsea, hasn't he? Yeah,
he's a twat. He scores a lot against us. I don't like Willian. He's really good. He's really good, and he always ups his game. I say ups his game. I think he's a really good player, not just against Liverpool. I think that's a really astute signing from Arsenal. I know he's 32 years old. I wouldn't have been displeased at all if we'd have managed to get Willian on a free. I just think he's a really aesthetic footballer. I think he's really nice to watch. He's technically amazing. He gives you something from free kicks and corners as well, because his set piece delivery is brilliant. And he's going to be a danger. When Robbo's pushing on and Willian trying to get into those little gaps of space behind him. Equally, Aubameyang on the other side behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. Questions for our defence and how we pick those players up, because very, very good front three who find space, link up well, and score goals.
You said when we did an interview on your channel, and you give me a pretty horrific, from my point of view, stat about the last time Liverpool lost at Anfield.
In the league, yeah, April 2017. So it's going back a long way now, mate. We've had, 2 full seasons of Premier League games, not getting beaten in the league. And, to be fair, we've not been beaten in the league many times at all, before restart anyway. So it's a place that Liverpool have been really strong. I think the fans help us there. I think that's why
lack of fans. Would that be a factor? Would that be a factor? Lack of fans there? Obviously, no fans there, shall I say?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a factor for a lot of teams up and down the country. Certainly the smaller teams, the likes of Burnley, close in grounds where you can get loud, and Everton, I think, as well at Goodison Park. I think that's a gnarly place to go to sometimes, especially if you're a Man United, an Arsenal, a Liverpool, something like that. Their fans really get into it. But equally, flip side, for a team that's learning to play out from the back, obviously quite good to be able to do that without fans going, "Oh, fuck's sakes, kick it long, will you, lads?" and stuff like that. So I think it will have an impact on a lot of sides this season. I think for Arsenal heading into this, the fear factor, yes, it'll be there, but they've seen chinks in the armour recently since restart. Liverpool lost a couple of games and not been at their best as before the lockdown, and now couple that with the fact that there's no fans there, Arsenal should be able to play with a little bit of freedom and hope to get something from the game. And I think prior to lockdown, with the fans being in the stadium, teams were beaten before they turned up at Anfield. And I'm not sure that will be the case this season.
Okay, prediction time.
3-1 Liverpool.
3-1.
3-1, yeah. I think there'll be goals in the game. I do think it'll be a tough game again. I don't think we've hit the ground. I think, we've started well, but I don't think we've hit top gear yet. And I don't think there's many teams in the league who've hit top gear at the moment. Yeah. I think the pre-season was too short. The gap in between seasons was too short. But I think Liverpool, to be honest with you, we didn't really push our players towards the end of the season. This will be as rest of the Liverpool squad as it will be in a couple of years. Salah, Mane, the African Cup of Nations and all that stuff, and no breaks in between seasons for years. That lockdown should really have revitalised them. So in a couple of weeks' time, I think Liverpool will be really on song. But right now, we're still working our way to fitness. We've still got another couple of players, Thiago maybe to come in. We've got quite a few injuries as well, mate. Joe Gomez, the centre-half, has missed the last couple of games. So we played Fabinho at the centre-half.
He looked good there, though.
He did. He's got like go gadget legs in the tackle, hasn't he? They just fly out like, and he's got really long legs.
Yeah, he played like a centre-back. He was very impressive. So, yeah.
Yeah, Henderson looks like, he'll miss the game against Arsenal. We obviously know Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's going to miss the game against Arsenal. Joel Matip is out for the game against Arsenal, probably coming back after the international break. So we've got a few injuries piling up. Don't know whether Joe Gomez is back in training on Friday. So I don't know whether he'll start or we'll see Fabinho at centre-half. And then the question mark is, if Fabinho's at centre-half, does Thiago play? With maybe Gino Wijnaldum and Naby Keita. So question marks over what start 11 Jurgen will go with because of the injuries.
Well, listen, thank you very much, Chris, for coming on. Look forward to the game. It's a huge game. I'll try and talk to you after the game, and then we can even then look to the Carabao Cup one, which will be a much changed game. Which again, that'll be a good game because two good squads. So that'll be a very interesting game as well. But looking forward to it. Don't forget, I did an interview with Chris over on Redmen as well. Make sure you check that out. But can't wait for the game. It's a big game at Anfield. Oh, it's just such a shame you can't be there,
Robbie, what would you have stayed in Liverpool all week had this had fans been allowed in the stadium? What would you have done?
I think I might have done. I think I might have done because 2 games in such a short space of time. Wow. But yeah,
football
looking forward
without fans really is nothing, isn't it?
Nah,
football's just not the same without fans.
Not the same, and we've got to. Obviously, we understand the reasons why, but You know what it is with me, Chris, right? I'm just thinking to myself, if pubs can open though, you know, even they're closing them at 10, but they're open. All right, I know there's rules of keeping 6 people in, but surely in a stadium you could get some fans in. Because it's out.
You know what?
So, you know, if you're there with a mask, or I don't know.
Liverpool, I heard when it was said, you know, you can because originally the trials were like 2,500 people, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think they said we'll knock the trials down to 1,000. I heard from someone in and around the club that at 1,000 people, Liverpool won't make money.
You lose money.
They'll lose more money to open up because of obviously the safety measures and the amount of staff that you need and all that type of stuff. But at £2,500, they maybe break even, make a little bit of money. So obviously they're going to lose a lot of money during this COVID-19 pandemic. Somewhere between 70 and 200 million Liverpool stand to lose.
Yeah,
and I'm sure all the big clubs will be in the same
I heard
boat.
we could lose up to 150 million. Yeah, I mean, so this, you know, even the big clubs are going to really feel it. We need to get fans back into the grounds, and not just for the financials, but also for us. I mean, we just want to see a game of football in the flesh, but it's not looking like we're going to see that this season. But Chris, thank you very much once again. Don't forget you can check out Chris on the Redmen TV, and yeah, looking forward to the game. It's Robbie here from AFTV. Don't forget to check out AFTV on Flick for all the latest transfer rumours, for all the information on Arsenal, for all the information on AFTV. You can check me there for Q&As on a regular basis. The link is in the description. It is free to download. Download it right now.